Okay, so again, you could always late join. The pin will now just be at the bottom. I don't know why you didn't join earlier. Again, I've said it multiple times. So we're starting without you. Take notes as you go for the full points. So first one, how many cherry trees had a height of exactly 70? Okay, so the correct answer is green. Only 2 people got it right. This is one of the 3 data displays that you should be familiar with by now. So what type of graph are you seeing right now? A histogram, good. So it's not just like your typical bar graph. On your final exam, you will have to make a histogram when you're given some data. And a couple students will try to make like an ordinary bar graph. Histograms have intervals. So for example, where you guys probably got it wrong, maybe you were looking at this bar that had a frequency of 3. Maybe you were looking at this one that had a frequency of 8. But look at where the 70 is. It's like right in the middle. Each bar is an interval. So on your notes, and I think your practice too, and on your test, this is how it will look. It will be more like this, 60 to 64.9 or something like that. So this first bar is 60 up to 64.9. As soon as it hits 65 exactly, it goes to the next bar where it's 65 to 69.9. As soon as it hits 70, it goes to the next bar where this is like 70 to 74.9 and so forth. But they could also be represented this way too. And the thing is with histograms, you can't tell exactly how many of these 8 were 70. Histograms don't show you that. They just show you how many fall within a certain interval. Does that make sense? Okay. Now I know some of us are in the middle of taking notes, just like, do your best to keep up. As soon as you submit your answer, start jotting down the question. You can draw any graphs you need to, so that when we go over it, you can just take these notes that I'm writing and anything else you do important. Okay, so here's the next one. What percent of DVDs cost more than $20? Those of you quizzing right now, you can use your notes. Just make sure your phone stays in your backpack. Okay, but the rest of you, most of you got it right. That's good. What type of graph is this? It's a box plot. So in box plots, what can you see very easily? Median. The median is represented by this middle bar in the box itself. What does this part represent? I heard quarter one. What else did we say? Not the lower quartile right here. The minimum is what that edge of the whisker is what we call it, like the whisker. That's our minimum. This first edge of the box is called what? Good, quartile 1. This edge of the box is called quartile 3, and then this end of the whisker is called. Okay, great. Now you don't really need to know, I guess, all of that for this question. This one said, what percent of DVDs cost more than 20%? What you should know, and if you don't, I'm telling you right now, is that the quartiles, Q1, the median is Q2, and Q3 separate the data into quarters. So like it's in the name, quartile order. These separate the data into the first 25%, the second 25%, third, and the fourth to add up to 100%. So when we're talking about what percent costs more than $20, well, here's where 20 is. Only 25% of the data costs more than $20. That makes sense? For box plots, you need to know that what I wrote in the red is what makes the box plot. And then that the quartiles split the data into quarters. So if we're asking what percent of DVDs cost more than $20, only 25% to do that. Question? Okay, so then on to the next one. How much does the middle 50% of DVDs cost? No Colton today. Okay. We are talking about the middle 50% of the data. So what I mentioned before, the quartiles split the data into what?
Quarters.
Quarters. It's in the name. That's why we say quartile 1, 2, and 3. That's where it splits the data into quarters. So here, here, and here, the like bars on your box, I guess you could call it. So here's my first 25%, my second, my third, and my fourth. So when we're talking about my middle 50%, we're talking about from here to here. So like the box itself is my middle 50% of the data. So 14 to 20, that is why the answer was 14 to 20. That's for my box. Middle 50. Questions on that? Okay. So you can see like, even though this is a longer piece, that doesn't mean that there's more data points there. It's just spread out more there. Divides it into quarters. All right. How many cars had 31 miles per gallon? How many cars had 31 miles per gallon? All right, how many cars have 31 miles per gallon? You guys all got it right. What type of graph is this? A dot plot. So these are the easiest to see exactly how many each data point was. So whereas the histograms, you can't see it, the box plots, you couldn't see it, the dot plots, you can't. That's the pro of having a dot plot. Each of them have their own pros and cons. You'll be asked that on the test, like between a histogram or dot plot, which is better to see blank. So know the pros and cons of each. Question on that? Okay, I don't think we need to elaborate too much, because you all got it right. Remember, take notes as we go, they don't have to be perfect, just like jot some stuff down. Kind of checking as we go. So how many cherry trees had a height between 80 and 85? Okay. So again, looking at a histogram, this time, since it gave us like an interval, you should be able to tell me how many fall within that interval. And it's this bar that tells me that between 80 and 85, you can see that it had a frequency of 5. So this y-axis is labeled, but if it's not for some reason, know that histograms, the y-axis is always the frequency. So like how often a cherry tree fell within that interval. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns? How would you describe the shape of this histogram? Bell shaped. I mean, it's not perfect. Very rarely in the real world are things perfect, but out of all the distributions we talked about before, this is mostly bell shaped. So on to the next one. What distribution best describes the data? What distribution best describes the data? Okay, almost all got it right again. So the tricky part with these usually is figuring out if it's left or right skewed. So what is like the little trick I told you for how you can remember what to call it? Yes? You look for the void. Don't look for where the data is clustered. Look for the void. Since the void is on the left side, then it's left skewed. So good. I'm glad almost all of us got that one right. At least we know for sure it's not symmetric or uniform. Definitely not. Look for the void to tell you if it's left or right. Okay, so then on to the next one. All right, what is the best description of the histogram below? So skewed left, symmetric and bell shaped, symmetric and bimodal, uniform. Okay, so again, almost all got it right. I don't think I need to elaborate too much. Pretty soon we're gonna start using the shapes to tell us things about like the mean, the median without doing any calculations. So that's exciting. That's on its way. Okay, then on to the next one. So find the median of this data set. Sorry. Find the median. How do I find the median of a data set? Okay, now it does mean middle number. But one important step is that you always have to make sure your data is in numerical order first. So if this was like mixed around, you need to make sure that you put it in numerical order first. So like how you would normally count smallest to greatest. Since this one already is in numerical order, you just kind of go left, right, so you get a middle number or middle two numbers. Now, since this is an odd number of data points, I should have just only one number in the middle, and that's my median, so that's the right answer. If there were two numbers in the middle, that's where you average that, where you add them together, divided by 2. But that should only happen if you have an even number of data points. Questions on that? So then on the next one, it's gonna be the same data set, just asking you something else about it. You don't wanna like rewrite the whole thing. And you're asking now for Q1. What is Q1 for that data set? Okay, so almost all got it right again. That's good. In order to find quartile 1, you need to find what first? A median of the entire data set, which we found in the last question. It was this 64. That was my median of the whole thing. Now, why does that matter? Well, Q1, like the definition for it, would be the median of the lower half of your data. So my median splits the data into 2. I have my lower half to the left, my upper half to the right. So my Q1, I need to just look at my lower half. Sometimes, like if you did have to take the average, like I'll usually put a line between the two numbers and call that my median. You never cross out your median when you're finding the middle of your upper or lower half. Okay, so don't cross that out. Just go left, right. I have two numbers in the middle, average them. 32 plus 32, and then divide by 2 gives me 32. Okay. If you take the average of the same numbers, it's just gonna be that number. So you can do the math too. Any questions? So quartile 1, making my lower half, I would usually designate it in the middle of my two numbers if there's 2 in the middle. Next one. All right, now find Q3. Same data set, find Q3. All right, so Q3, median of my upper half. So this was my median of the whole thing. In my upper half, I'm going left, right, two numbers in the middle. That means you average them. 80 plus 80 is 160. 160 divided by 2 is 8. So my Q3 is here. All right, moving on. All right, what is the median of this box plot? What is the median? Trying to play with this, but not as good. What is the median? Okay, on this one, you shouldn't have to do any math because it's a box plot. On box plots, one of the pros about it is that you can easily find the median. What would represent the median? So the middle bar of your box, wherever it happens to be. So on this one, on the 34, easy. Same with the quartiles. It's really easy to identify your quartiles. That's the other part of the box. Good. So then the next one. What is the mean? What is the mean? Find out. Yeah. Put that one. I guess you can start from there off. Okay, so nowhere in the notes for your box plot lesson did it say that you could find the mean just looking at the box plot. You cannot. It only tells you your minimum, maximum, and your quartiles, including the median. That's your 5-number summary is what we call it. No mean, you can't see it. You couldn't even find it because you don't know what data goes with this. Like you don't know each individual data point. You just can't find the mean from a box plot unless you have the data set that goes with it. What's another word for mean? Average. So where you add up all the numbers, divide by however many numbers you add. Hopefully you have that and you have enough time for it. It'll probably be our last one. So the median will be greater than the mean for the data below. True or false? Here, So the median will be greater than the mean for the data below. Okay, now, normally I would not make you just guess, but can you guys just guess real quick? I have just a couple other announcements to tell you. If you had to guess, is it true or false? Okay, so this is more of a preview of what's to come. You could, since it's a dot plot, calculate the mean and median and compare. you could do that. But later on, we're really just gonna focus on the shapes. So like this is right skewed. And what outliers, which I don't necessarily think this would be an outlier, but for this purpose, what outliers do to the meat. Like pull it in that direction, things like that. So I don't expect you to know that now, unless you actually calculated both and compared. But I know some of you were concerned about your grade after the quiz, so let me, talk about that real quick. In Schoology, at the very top, I have a welcome folder that also lists this out in case you forget or just want to read it at a later time. But if you want to get a higher grade on the quiz you just took, we have a retake/correction process. So it's in the welcome folder, it's this page. And the corrections process you can do on your own time. I did make the quiz viewable already. I usually will after almost everyone's taken it. And like your quiz is not the same as your friend's quiz. There's like a bank of question and full drop. So don't try to cheat. It's really like an easy quiz. Just try to learn it yourself. But you can do corrections on your own paper, like have your new answer along with an explanation or work shown, and then take a picture, email it to me, and I'll give you half credit back on your quiz. And that should be enough to get you passing for right now. If you want to retake, so listen real quick. I highly recommend, listen with your ears, not your mouth. I highly recommend if you didn't get the grade you want, to do both at some point. Correct it first. And then if you want to retake it for more points, now that you kind of understand it a bit better, that's done during office hours or during math lab, which we don't have math lab. You can ask permission from your teacher to come in, but they need to give you permission. Otherwise, like, you can just wait till August 23rd when I have office hours. And then you can retake it at that point. Any questions? Yeah. Are we turning in the papers? No, I've already checked the paper as you guys did it, so we can hang on. Yes, if you were in the top 3, which I'll put it up,